Peace. What's good? How y'all doing? This is ZaZa Ali. Today is Saturday, October 29th, 2022. I pray that this message reaches you all in the best of health, spirit, and mind. Special shout out to my group members. I am a day late with posting this. I had intentions of recording this yesterday, but I was working on this at the same time that I was working on the Is Hip Hop Facing Divine Judgment Part 3. And so I'm talking about Kanye West, in particular in that presentation. And I needed to talk about the Candace Owens Black Lives Matter situation. Like I couldn't talk about one or the other, right? It has to be addressed. So I said, let me do a special edition at the end of this, just addressing that and kind of giving my perspective and take on that, so I don't have to try to add that into the fold into a conversation about hip hop and about spiritual warfare, which it is all relative. But I'd rather be able to highlight some specific things I wanted to say about that without having to jumble that into, excuse me, the conversation about Kanye West. So that's what we're going to do today. And in lieu of making that choice, I decided to go ahead and put this full episode up on YouTube. I do these headline news segments once a week on my membership channel, and I post them once a month on YouTube. So this will be our monthly post for YouTube. And it's also, I'm posting this again because this is going to be, at the end of this, I'm going to talk about that, as well as I'm going to end with a conversation about Kanye West, and then that will be the segue into the presentation tomorrow. Is Hip Hop Facing Divine Judgment Part 3. Ye or Kanye West and the Delilah frequency, which I am pretty sure that's going to be the next slide. So I'm going to go ahead and get into this. I know I haven't seen you guys on YouTube in a while. You haven't heard from me in a while. I've been MIA, but I have been putting up continuous content on my membership channel. And I've also been working on my new book, Ancient People. So I'm really excited about that. But we'll have a more formal greeting tomorrow when I'm live and we can talk face to face. All right. So tomorrow, once again, is Hip Hop Facing Divine Judgment by ZaZa Ali. This is part 3. And tomorrow we are going to focus on Kanye West and the Delilah frequency. I'm going to talk a little bit about this at the end of this presentation today, just to kind of make a segue into that. But I am focusing in on the Kanye conversation because that spiritual warfare aspect and what I see playing out in him and through him is quite a sight to behold. And mind you, I'm not talking about anything I do at this point. In 2022, and it's October, getting ready to be November 2022. Next Saturday is my birthday, by the way. Thank you very much. Scorpio season is in full effect, but there's an elephant in the room. There's a very large elephant in the room, and I'm not gonna, like I said, I can't get into it. I'm heavily censored on YouTube, heavily censored on Instagram, heavily censored on Facebook. So I have to be careful in what I say. But in all of these different topics, whether I'm doing a metaphysics video, a meditation video, a hip hop facing divine judgment, even headline news, which is what we're talking about today, I want to make sure and emphasize that we are living through spiritual warfare right now. And that the self-accountability and the self-awareness and the taking responsibility for one's state of consciousness is at an all-time high right now. So hopefully our culture and our people are spending as much time looking within and honing in on their inner being and their inner selves as they are focusing on Kanye West. This is available. This and all of my content is available on my ZaZa Ali exclusive content channel. Weekly exclusive headline news, Ask Me Anything weekly segment, extensive library of content with an emphasis on spirituality, mindfulness, and overall well-being. I've also written 6 books and 1 ebook, Practical Steps to Health and Well-Being, 4 metaphysics workbooks and 2 books. Those are all available on my website, ZaZaAli.com. And the link will be available.
Today, South Koreans are...
I did not mean to do that, pardon me. The link will be available in the description of the video as well. All right, let's go ahead and get into this.
Today, South Koreans are dealing with the aftermath of the country's worst disaster in years. At least 149 people are dead after being crushed by a crowd during Halloween celebrations in Seoul.
Yeah, let's go right to Chris Wolf. He's live from Koreatown now. He's got reaction from community members to the tragedy. Chris?
That's right, Rick and Karine, this is such a devastating tragedy, and the death toll continues to rise seemingly by the hour. As you said at last check, it's 149, at least 149 people killed and another 150 people injured, some critically. This disaster has sent shockwaves around the world, including right here in Koreatown in Southern California. And I can tell you, this community is in shock. People are trying to find out as much about the victims as possible tonight. And remember, the area where this happened in the South Korean capital of Seoul is a very popular tourist destination. So visitors from around the world are likely among the casualties. Well, according to multiple sources, at least 149 people have been killed, mostly teenagers and young adults. They were killed in a crush when a massive crowd celebrating Halloween surged into an alley, a very tight space in a popular part of Seoul, the South Korean capital, known for its vibrant nightlife filled with bars and restaurants and clubs. The area called Itaewon is also a very popular tourist destination. Investigators and witnesses are calling this a melee, total, complete chaos. Observers believe something. Was it very crowded then when you were there years ago?
It was very crowded. It's always usually very crowded, but I've never seen it to this degree that I saw on social media.
And you think relief from all of the COVID restrictions had a role in that? People just wanted to get out in large numbers and celebrate.
Absolutely. I think Seoul is a city of 10 million people, and many of the young people thought this was the first major public open space party that they could really enjoy. I feel, unfortunately, that that contributed to this factor. And also, Itaewon is a very popular destination for foreigners. So I'm afraid there might be some Korean Americans from Los Angeles that might have been a victim of this incident.
And we will have much more on this developing story throughout the night. We're now reporting live in Koreatown. I'm Chris Wolf, KTLA 5 News.
All right, thanks so much, Chris. And please stay with KTLA for continuing coverage of the deadly crowd surge.
Now, when I need to, because what I'm about to say is going to sound so far-fetched. But to be honest, if you really understand what's happening in the world right now and how much evil is happening on this planet and how wicked this agenda that's playing in the background of our lives, of all of our lives at this point, how wicked it is and how satanic it is, it's not going to sound that far-fetched. If you've been watching my my series that I've been putting up on my website, it's not going to sound that far-fetched, especially because I've talked about this in particular. So when I heard about this story, the first thing I did was looked up Seoul, Korea statistics and their where they are in terms of the fifth generation towers that have played a very big role in what has happened over the last 3 years all around the world, and have been the main purveyor, in my opinion, in terms of the mass illness and sickness, but I digress. So I found this article. Seoul concentrates 4% of the entire fifth generation towers. And I'm saying it like that intentionally because, again, all my content is being heavily censored. My YouTube channel has 2 strikes. If I get another strike, they're going to take it down. Please be mindful of that in the comments. Don't type anything that starts with the 2 C words or the 3 C words. The control department in Atlanta, the V word, like I need you guys to be careful and be conscientious about how you type, because the algorithm of artificial intelligence, it's what's monitoring everything that's being said and expressed online now. So please be mindful. South Korea ended July 21st with 25.1 million subscribers with 5th generation phase phones. Practically all of these 5th generation base stations in South Korea are concentrated within the higher Seoul space, whereas different areas within the nation are lagging behind when it comes to the deployment of these base stations, native press reported. Unbiased consultant Park Wang-ju cited information from the Ministry of Science and ICT stating that about 44% of South Korea's 5th generation Wi-Fi based stations or towers within the, I find that interesting that they use the word stations and base opposed to towers. Within the 3.5 gigahertz frequency band are established within the Seoul, Incheon, and Gyeonggi, I hope I'm saying that right, areas, contemplating that a 3.5 gigahertz base station can cowl in space within a radius of 1.3 to 1.4 kilometers. It's basically talking about how far the frequency bandwidth of the particular quote unquote station or tower, how long it can, how much space it can actually penetrate. The variety of 5th generation base statements established in Seoul is greater than 85 occasions larger than the minimal wanted to offer 5th generation service in response to the report. I read that as the number of base stations or towers in Seoul is 85% or 85 times larger than the minimum that they actually require in order to have 5th generation service in those areas. So they're going above and beyond, clearly. In distinction, the variety of 5th generation base statements deployed in South Jeolla province stood at 6,571 items, quote unquote, lower than the minimal requirement of 8,820 items. So they're telling us that this particular area of the world, Seoul, Korea, which is the place that everybody is looking at right now because of this horrendous occasion that has happened just in time for Halloween. They've gone above and beyond and have a substantial amount more than the minimum required in order for this technology or this system to be live and active. So within all of the top stories, and when you do the searches, you'll find that the title cardiac arrest keeps showing up in these news articles. Some articles say that there were 50 people who suffered from cardiac arrest. Some that say there were dozens. It's mentioned briefly on different online posts, dozens in cardiac arrests after crowd surge in Seoul. Crowd crush kills at least 51 at Seoul Hollywood festivities. At least 149 crushed to death in Seoul stampede. Dozens in cardiac arrests again. So cardiac arrests, 100 injured, around 50 people suffer cardiac arrests. About 50 people suffer cardiac. You can see here that this language keeps coming up. And so, of course, I looked up the statistics of people in Seoul, Korea that have actually taken the Jim Jones juice. I know that some people don't like when I use that language. I've had people write me and say that they feel that it's insensitive. And I agree, it is a little insensitive, but it's even more insensitive to me that I can't say the real word. It's even more insensitive and despicable to me that I no longer have free speech, and that pretty much nobody seems to care that free speech has officially become a thing of the past in a so-called democratic society with free speech, as if we ever needed man or man's law to give us free speech. So in this graph on the right-hand side, it doesn't really come across that clear. It looked more clear when I put this together, but it shows the timestamps starting in February 27th of 2021 up until September 14th of 2022, the statistics of people that have been given the Jim Jones juice in Korea. And it looks like that number has topped more than 125 million to date. It's horrible that we even have to be thinking on these terms in terms of the potential that, this could be like a ritual type thing where they just turned up some frequencies and put some specific people that they know had some specific things in their bodies and then activated those specific things that are in their bodies and then suffocated them in mass. It's very difficult to conceive like that something like that would be happening. But guess what? It happened not too long ago. Travis Scott concert spiked drugs behind the cases of cardiac arrest. Hint, hint. This is from November 2027. Excuse me, 7th. November 7th, 2021. 11 people suffered cardiac arrest at the show. 8 people died and more than 300 were injured as crowds surged and stampeded. The same language. I wrote down some of the words that the gentleman said in the news report. Complete chaos. People were stomped to death. People were crushed and people were suffocated. I mean, it doesn't get any more hellish than that. Remember the video of the brother who had sat down in his car and shot a video and talked about how traumatized he was and how there was hundreds of bodies that were laid out? He didn't say 8 people or 10 people or 20 people. He said it looked like there were hundreds of bodies that were laid out. We don't really know what the death toll in that situation was. And I'm definitely willing to bet it was more than 11 or 8 or 19, whatever is the total number of the cardiac arrests and the deaths. Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner has promised a thorough review and investigation of the tragedy at the Travis Scott headlined Astroworld Festival in the city, where 8 people died and more than 300 were injured as crowds surged and stampeded during Scott's set, reports Variety. 11 people suffered cardiac arrest at the show, Turner said, although causes of death, including the possibility of the use of spiked drugs, are under review. Those dead were between the ages of 14 and 16. That sounds really sterile, doesn't it? Those dead were between the ages of 14 and 26. These people have no souls. This festival, that Astroworld Festival, was 100%, in my opinion, a satanic ritual. And I've already talked about that and discussed that. He is something, I am going to be talking about that though in this Is Hip Hop Facing Divine Judgment series, because it's definitely relative. Yes, we are living in the era now where we are living amongst people that have the technology to pull these type of things off and then turn around and blame it on the people being too excited, not knowing. People are so uncivilized, they don't know how to come together and party anymore. These young people are so uncivilized, they packed the streets and weren't cautious and weren't paying attention because they were too happy to be outside. This is what they're telling you. Fact check, dietary supplement measure would not ban all FDA approved supplements, and it would not ban herbs. So let me give just a backdrop to this before I start reading it. There's a post that's circulating the internet about this bill called this Senate Bill 4090. And this particular bill is allegedly, supposedly, to regulate natural herbal medicine, which is classified as a supplement, and to put it under the banner of FDA regulation. So I've seen this multiple times. People have sent it to me. So when I looked it up, the first thing that came up was fact check, right? Which we know these people work for Satan, but let's just go through the motions. Will the proposed Dietary Supplement Listing Act of 2022 ban all non-Food and Drug Administration approved supplements and ban all herbs? No, that's not true. Senate Bill 4090 doesn't give the FDA more power. That wasn't even the question. The question was not, will the bill give the FDA more power? The question was, will the proposed Dietary Supplement Listing Act of 2022 ban all non-Food and Drug Administration approved supplements and ban all herbs? This is how it's kind of like they're rubbing it in our faces at this point. Like, what are you going to do? That's how I feel. I get offended as I'm about to listen to CNN too long, or MSNBC, or God forbid, read the New York Times or Los Angeles Times. Listening to the insanity of this world, it just makes my brain shut down. So they're writing and putting out this information in ways that a critical thinker is 100%. What do you mean? So let me finish reading. No, that's not true. The bill doesn't give the FDA more power. The bill would make ingredient lists available and require any supplements sold across state lines to be registered with the FDA. The claim appeared in an Instagram post with the video on October 27, 2022. The in-video text referenced Bill S 4090, and the caption with the video read, et cetera, et cetera. So I pulled up the actual bill, which it's here. And this video is going to scroll through all of the requirements. And basically, it's giving a list of all of these dietary supplements, which people like me and you, I'm assuming, take all the time. So this new list of things now that have to be done in order for your product, whatever your product is, if it's considered a natural herbal remedy or medicine, is now potentially going to have to fall under these new guidelines. And, and they say it's just only if you are selling across state lines. But once this is implemented, it'll just be an addenda. It just requires an addendum. Yeah, it starts out as just across state lines, but then it ends up being, okay, now that each state government can regulate this situation. Well, how do you feel in California? How do you feel in Texas? Oh, I think this is something that needs to be regulated. Let's add an addendum. This is about complete and utter control of every facet of human life. And this is why sitting back and watching the chaos and the turmoil and the inability to properly communicate and properly function and think straight in a time of darkness and chaos, this is why it's so frustrating to just sit back and be a spectator of what's happening on our planet. Because things like this are happening right under our nose. Can we get Candace Owens to wear a t-shirt that says no on S 490 Senate bill? Maybe we can get people talking. Maybe the Black community will actually become interested. Maybe the far right will actually become interested. Maybe the liberals will actually become it. Whoever she provokes and whoever supports her.
But while abortion is an issue, it nowhere reaches the level of interest of voters in terms of the cost of gas, food, bread, milk, things like that. What could you do as governor to alleviate the concerns of Georgia voters about those livability, daily, hourly issues that they're confronted with?
But let's be clear. Having children is why you're worried about your price for gas. It's why you're concerned about how much food costs. For women, this is not a reductive issue. You can't divorce being forced to carry an unwanted pregnancy from the economic realities of having a child. And so it's important for us to have both and conversations. We don't have the luxury of reducing it or separating them out, but we also have to talk about what a governor can do. A governor can address housing prices. A governor can address the cost of education. A governor can put money into the pockets of everyday hardworking Georgians instead of giving tax cuts to the wealthy. That's what I talk about on the trail, and that's what's resonating. But let's not pretend that women, half the population, especially those of childbearing age, they understand that having a child is absolutely an economic issue. It is only politicians who see it as simply another cultural conversation. It is a real biological and economic imperative conversation that women need to have.
Ms. Abrams.
You notice she said biological at the end there, right? So this is why, I find it so ironic and so interesting that this woman has become like this champion for Black people and Black women in particular, because I'm not impressed. It's just another politician that for the last 3 years has been playing I'm not even gonna say what just came up in my head. She's playing a very strategic role, and unbeknownst to her, because she's just like the rest of the NPCs. There's nothing powerful about anything she just said. There's nothing powerful about anything she said in this entire interview. She's saying the same thing that politicians say every 2 years, every 4 years. Her script is right out of Barack Obama's playlist. She said, having children is why you're worried about the cost of gas. Having children is why you're worried about food costs. Listen, lady, bread and good bread, real bread, in California is like $8 right now. And I'm sure in Atlanta it's something significant in Atlanta proper. We have like the level of primitive thinking. This is so satanic that these people have totally turned the greatest blessing that God has ever bestowed us, which is childhood, which is the ability to conceive life, which is the ability to give birth, which is the ability to reproduce God. They've completely turned us against the original system, the original power source. Everything she said in this conversation is lack-based consciousness, victim-based consciousness. There's nothing power. There was absolutely nothing powerful said. And she made several very ignoramus and non-playable character-esque statements, like having children is why you're worried about the cost of gas. No, having children is why you experience real true love, is how you experience real true love. Having children is how you prove God is real. Having children is how you expand your heart. Having children is how you understand the concepts of what it takes to sacrifice yourself for the greater good of another. Having children is the greatest blessing that the Creator has bestowed upon humanity. How dare you? I have noticed.
But while abortion is an issue, it nowhere reaches
this Black female antagonist, and I think I might be jumping the gun on this because I think I have another video. Do I have another video? They're using, oh yes, I do. Okay, we'll get to that in just a little bit. Let me keep going. Brooklyn Nets owner condemns star Kyrie Irving for tweet about documentary deemed anti-Semitic. CNN. Because of course, CNN needs to be heavily invested in what's going on in the sports world, right? This is mainstream news. This is American mainstream news. Brooklyn Nets star Kyrie Irving on Saturday tweeted that he meant no disrespect to anyone's religious beliefs after the owner of his NBA team condemned him for tweeting a link to a documentary deemed anti-Semitic. I'm disappointed that Kyrie appears to support a film based on a book full of anti-Semitic disinformation. Nets owner Joe Tsai wrote on Twitter Friday night, I want to sit down and make sure he understands that this is hurtful to all of us. And as a man of faith, it is wrong to promote hate based on race, ethnicity, or religion. He added, this is bigger than basketball. Irving wrote in a tweet on Saturday, I am an omnist, and I meant no disrespect to anyone's religious beliefs. The anti-Semitic label that is being pushed on me is not justified and does not reflect the reality or truth I live in every day. I embrace and want to learn from all walks of life and religions. An omnist is someone who believes in all religions. The Star Guard tweeted a link Thursday to the 2018 movie Hebrews to Negroes, Wake Up Black America, which is based on Ronald Dalton's book of the same name. Rolling Stone described the book and movie as stuffed with anti-Semitic tropes. I'm going to play a clip next of Kyrie Irving today, actually responding to this question, because I think that he can defend himself better than anyone. And I think that his eloquence and his ability to speak truth to power is just so admirable. And I'm just so proud of him because he literally is like he's like a diamond in the rough. You know, we got millionaires and billionaires and people that have all these accolades and all this fame and all of this success that don't have any courage. So he's a king amongst men, amongst mediocrity. But my point is, hands off Kyrie Irving. Touch not my anointed ones. Yeah, you're going to be able to get as many of them as you can. The ones who are walking through life blindly and going through with the flow and don't have minds of their own and aren't seeking any connection to a higher power and don't know themselves and don't love themselves and don't understand who and what God really is and what consciousness really is, and how thought creates reality and consciousness creates reality. Those who are focused on self-governance, I, self, Lord, and Master, the Elohim. And it's funny that I see so many people making mockery of him and Kanye West. When they're on the game, they're playing on the field. You ain't even on the field. You on the sidelines commenting about what the people on the field are actually doing. They're playing on a high level. The game of life, not basketball, not music, the game of life. We're surrounded by cowards who don't have any courage, who don't have any conviction, who won't speak up for these children. Doctors and nurses going into hospitals that are killing people. Oh, did I say that? Damn. Can we strike that from the record? I didn't mean to say that. Damn it. I walked that back. I didn't mean it. Oh, I hope that doesn't become an issue. It's not going to become an issue. I'm claiming that. It is what it is. I'll put it up on my website if anything happens. There are some supreme beings on this planet. There's some angels on this planet. And this thing's only going to be allowed to get to devolve, because this is devolution that's taking place in the minds and hearts. The intelligence that is artificial is devolution. Elon Musk is a devolutionist. That's why, yeah, Kanye, we got to talk, because y'all keep bigging up these devils. You're in violation in a few ways, but I still love you. But we need to talk. touch not my anointed ones. This is the time with all this conversation about who are the real people of God and all of this biblical terminology and all this, everybody's an expert, but nobody had anything to say for the last 3 years. I just find that fascinating. This is spiritual warfare. Can you speak truth to power? Can you stand on your square? Can you go against the grain? Can you stand up against the whole entire world being against you? You speaking your truth? You trying to be close to God? You trying to be authentic? You trying to figure it out? Evolve, expand, grow, create. That's what we're here for, not to work a 9 to 5 and pay bills. Making money is important, but our soul for our souls, Hands off Kyrie Irving, period. Hands off the righteous ones, period. Trying to censor us, trying to keep us from bringing truth to people, trying to keep us from letting people know what's really going on. Yeah, the devil is alive. I feel him breathing. Claiming money is the key, so keep on dreaming.
And it's a title given to Christ, Philippians 2:11. And my name translates in the Hebrew language as Yahweh. So I went on the Amazon Prime. I was like, you know what, let me see if there are any documentaries on Yahweh. So went in the search bar, typed in Yahweh, that came up. Went out and shared it on my platform. That was my night. In terms of the backlash or what people call it, we're in 2022. History is not supposed to be hidden from anybody. And I'm not a divisive person when it comes to religion. I embrace all walks of life. You see it on all my platforms. I talk to all races, all cultures, all religions. And my response would be, it's not about educating yourself on what Semitism is and what anti-Semitism is. It's really about learning the root words of where these come from and understanding that this is an African heritage that is also belonging to the people. Africa is in it, whether we want to dismiss it or not. So the claims of anti-Semitism and who are the original chosen people of God, and we go into these religious conversations and it's a big no-no. I don't live my way like that. I don't live my life that way. Excuse me. I grew up in a melting pot, and I say a melting pot of all races: white, black, red, yellow, Jewish, Christian, Muslim, and you can see the way I live my life now. I'm not here to be divisive, so they could push their agenda. I don't want to say they, because I'm not identifying any one group or race of people, but I'm in a unique position to have a level of influence on my community. And what I post does not mean that I support everything that's being said or everything that's being done, or I'm campaigning for anything. All I do is post things for my people in my community and those that it's actually going to impact. Anybody else that has criticism, and obviously wasn't meant for them.
Hopefully I'm understanding what you said, and I want to make sure I get it right because I don't want to misquote any part of it.
I don't expect understanding from a media conglomerate group that sincerely talks about the game of basketball, and then we bring up religion as if it's correlative at times when it's convenient for people to bring it up. So please just be direct with your question so we can move on from this and I can talk about the game and go home to my son Elohim and my wife Marlene, okay?
Am I to take it that this was what you shared was not something that you've even watched? This was, you did watch it, or either watch it or read it.
I had a lot of time last year to read a lot. Read a whole bunch. Good and bad about the truth of our world.
So then do you, I guess, understand or not understand those that might imply that that work had anti-Semitic leanings in it? I only ask this because the tweet is still up there, so
we're in 2022. It's on Amazon, a public platform. Whether you want to go watch it or not is up to you. There's things being posted every day. I am no different than the next human being, so don't treat me any different. You guys come in here and make up this powerful influence I have over top of the adultery of, oh, you cannot post that. Why not? Why not? I don't hear uproar on that. I'm not here to be divisive on what's going on this or that. I'm not comparing Jews to blacks. I'm not comparing white to black. I'm not doing that. That conversation is dismissive, and it constantly revolves around the rhetoric of who are the chosen people of God. And I'm not here to argue over a person or a culture or religion or what they believe. No, this is what is here. It's on a public platform. Did I do anything illegal? Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Did I do anything illegal? Did I hurt anybody? Did I harm anybody? Am I going out and saying that I hate one specific group of people? So out of all the judgment that people got from me posting, I just, without talking to me, and then I respect what Joe said, but there has a lot to do with the not ego or pride of how proud I am to be an African heritage, but also to be living as a free Black man here in America, knowing the historical complexities for me to get here. So I'm not going to stand down on anything that I believe in. I'm only going to get stronger because I'm not alone. I have a whole army around me.
Kyrie, while we're on the topic of promotion, why did you decide to promote something that Alex Jones said?
That was a few weeks ago. I do not stand with Alex Jones' position, narrative, court case that he had with Sandy Hook, or any of the kids that felt like they had to relive trauma, or parents that had to relive trauma, or to be dismissive to all the lives that were lost during that tragic event. My post was a post from Alex Jones that he did in the early 90s or late 90s about secret societies in America of occults, and it's true. So I wasn't identifying with anything of being a campaignist for Alex Jones or anything. I'm just there to post. And it's funny, and it's actually hilarious, because out of all the things I posted that day, that was the one post that everyone chose to see. It just goes back to the way our world is and works. I'm not here to complain about it. I just exist.
And to follow up on the promotion of the movie and the book.
Can you please stop calling it a promotion? What am I promoting?
Put it out on your platform.
But I'm promoting it? Do you see me in front of
it out there,
the
people
title?
are going to say that you are
Yeah, put it out there just like you put things out there, right?
Yeah, but
okay.
It's not
you put things out there for a living, right?
Right, but my stuff is not.
So let's move on.
Filled with anti-Semitic.
Let's move on. Don't dehumanize me up here.
I'm not doing that.
Another human being. I can post whatever I want. So say that and shut it down and move on to the next question.
But Kyrie, you have to understand that
I don't have to understand anything from you.
But it's not me.
Nothing.
By
it's no people that you're making up, bro. Move on.
But by posting
move on. Next question.
Anybody
do you guys have any more questions?
And they're going to say,
you guys have any more questions? Because this is going to be a clip. This is going to be a clip that he's going to marvel at. Is this any more questions?
But you're not answering the question.
This is another answering your question. Oh my God, let's make another Instagram clip so we could be famous again. Next question.
Kyrie, basketball related.
You see that demonic frequency? Straight energy vampire. And that frequency is coming up in the spirits of people that we know and love. Nagging at your spirit, nagging at your decisions, nagging at your truth, nagging at you wanting to live your life a certain type of way and govern yourself and not be a slave to the insanity of this world. That's that demonic energy that just was in that all over that demon asking him those questions. It was so antagonistic. It was so disrespectful. And it was so indicative of a lot of what America stands for and was built on that people like Candace Owens won't address. Has she ever addressed it? I don't know. But I'm just saying, the greatest lie ever told is about George Floyd. Girl, bye. I'm waiting for one person to ask or to bring up a substantial point that's being missed out of this whole conversation about who are the real Jews. What's the condition in Israel right now for the Israeli people? How many of us actually know what's happening there? The citizens of that land, what are they dealing with? How's the health? How's the Jim Jones juice agenda? I think these are good questions since, we're trying to decipher who the true people of God are. I don't know, maybe this is relative. After PayPal revokes controversial misinformation policy, major concerns remain over $2,500 fine. After facing backlash earlier this month, PayPal rescinded a line in its policy stating that spreading misinformation on the platform would be subject to a $2,500 fine. Today, the remaining language leaves users and elected officials demanding more clarity over how the platform defines fine-worthy speech. A part of PayPal's user agreement says that any customer in violation of the platform's acceptable use policy is subject to a $2,500 fine, has been in place since at least 2013, according to the website's archive. The fine had largely gone unnoticed until earlier this month when PayPal updated its acceptable use policy to state that messages which are fraudulent, promote misinformation, or are unlawful are in violation of the policy and, by extension, subject to the fine. The acceptable use policy stated that determinations of which messages violated the policy would be made at PayPal's sole discretion. After drawing intense backlash from commentators stating that the policy could infringe upon free speech, as if, the company rescinded the line in the policy, citing misinformation, and issued a statement saying it was posted in error on Monday, October 10th. PayPal is not fining people for misinformation, and this language was never intended to be inserted into our policy, a spokesperson said for the company. PayPal's former president, David Marcus, was among dissenters, posting a tweet objecting to the policy update, which was amplified further when Elon Musk responded, agreed. And we know that they're lying in saying that it was a posted in error because it took them way long to rescind that. It was all of those people canceling their account and all of the major backlash. If you went to their Instagram account, people were going in on them on the comments, and a lot of people were saying that they were, canceling their accounts. So they had plenty of time. If it was just a message error, immediately they could have rescinded that and made that clear, and they didn't. And this is just another step towards a social credit system. They're trying things out. They're testing different methodologies because they know America is not the rest of the world. They know they have to be a little bit more strategic and diligent with the way that they handle things here. And so this is one of those things. Put it out there, see what the response is, see, who's amenable and who's not, who's willing to accept this and who's not. Because for a lot of people who aren't online talking about controversial things like truth, people that don't rock the boat, the people that go along and get along, they look at something like this and be like, that is kind of, I don't know, it might be a little, that might be a little overboard, but I'm not worried about it because I know I'm not saying anything that's going to even get my account flagged, like that type of cowardly lion type shit. So kudos to everybody who closed their accounts. This is how we have to start moving in a strong formation. As soon as the devil raises its ugly head and shows itself and tries to mock us and tries to and thumbs its nose up at us and says, yeah, what are you going to do about it? Because they're doing that nonstop at this point. This is the type of formative, strategic people moving in accordance, people saying no, now they got to shift gears because what are you going to do if you don't have any customers?
Around 7 months ago, she went to DR. And of course, listen, your friends, they don't listen to you. They don't want to hear nothing you got to say. I'm a friend. I respect you. Do what you do. But just be careful. Go to a good doctor. She failed to do that. She went to a doctor that she seen a girl post about this doctor on, of course, IG. One thing about IG that you have to know is these girls get paid to promote these doctors. Whatever amount you pay towards that doctor is being cashed out to the same girl that's like, oh yeah, say my name, say I sent you. Yeah, they're getting a cut. She goes to DR, right? She gets this surgery done. She had lipo and she had a tummy tuck, and then she has a physical, right? But since then, she was complaining. She was complaining of just body aches, headaches, just feeling really heavy all the time. So she went to the doctor, and the doctor tells her, hey, we just got your blood results. Why is your kidney count low? So then the doctor says, have you had any surgery? Have you had any surgeries in the last year? Yes, I've had tummy tuck, I've had BBL, all of these things. So she has a CAT scan done. And during a CAT scan, it shows up. She only has one kidney. So down in DR, this botch organ selling doctor took one of her kidneys. She thought she was getting the steal of her life. She was like, 3,500 for all that. Yes, sign me up. Little did she know that the doctor was actually selling her kidney. I don't know how much kidneys go on the black market, but I know it's way more than 3,500. Now she's trying to contact this doctor. Now she's trying to find out, okay, where is this doctor? This doctor disappeared, guys. Disappeared. The girl that was on freaking IG, come to find out, that girl was not even real. That girl was not even a real person. That girl was a botch account, fake ass account, and that account was actually taken down. It was shown that this girl that was like, oh yeah, my body this, and look at this doctor did this type of a job on me. All those pictures were taken off of Google. Those were Google stole pictures. So that wasn't even a real person, okay? So now my friend is pretty much like, oh my God, I can't find a doctor. I don't know exactly what the hell I'm gonna do. And now she has one kidney. Now she has one kidney and she's going through a whole bunch of freaking crap. Now she has to take medication. Now she has to do all these things. And now she really has to protect her one kidney because that's all she has. The moral of this true story is please just don't get a BBL. Like if you can avoid it, please don't get it. And
So a few things. When I say they've weaponized people's sickness, that's what the last 3 years has been about. They've also weaponized people's mental illness and people's spiritual illness and people's emotional illness. We as a society have created cultures of very dissatisfied, unhappy, insecure women. And that's why we're having this conversation. And I'm going to get into this tomorrow when I do talk about Kanye West and Kim Kardashian and the Delilah frequency, because that's a bone that I got to pick with Kanye. You can't be parading the Delilah frequency out in front of the world in one breath. The whores of Babylon that you legitimized for the world in one breath. And then in the next breath, talking about the children of Israel. Where's the self-accountability? Where's the internal reflection? Where's the mastering of the Gemini? Both twins have to be mastered. Both twins have a higher and a lower self, and a higher and a lower nature, I should say, not self, nature. And we know the devil is riding one of Kanye's twins. That's a fact. But he's fighting for his soul. And I admire that. And I admire his courage and his convictions during this hour when 99% of the people on our planet have shown themselves to not have any courage or conviction at all. And to be arguing talking points instead of actually arguing truth. But the point of me showing this, I went to this because I saw a couple of comments on this YouTube video that said, oh, this lady was lying. So I followed the trail and found her actual page. She did a follow-up video and addressed all of that. She was very believable. She was very knowledgeable about what she was talking about. And I believe her. And not only that, in my book, The Scientific Intervention in Our Affairs, I have a chapter on organ harvesting. So we didn't even have to wait to go to the Dominican Republic and get a report back about someone's kidney being stolen after getting a BBL. It's good to know. Women should know that are interested in this. But we've been knowing that organ harvesting, imagine how many Black men were killed in drive-by shootings or in violent situations. Imagine how many of those kidneys went up on the black market. family can't see the body for a certain amount of time, that whole thing that they do. And I've had a family member viciously, violently murdered. And we couldn't access the body for, I think it was like a week. Are we going and doing double autopsies on the bodies of our people who are dying violently and tragically? We know they're not doing double autopsies if you had the what. You can't even access those bodies. What did they do with those? What are they doing with those kidneys and organs? Why they got you thinking they got the cooties?
Breaking news tonight is it appears that Elon Musk has sealed the deal to take over Twitter. CNBC's David Faber was the first to report tonight that according to unnamed sources, the deal is done and the current CEO and CFO of the social media giant have left the building and will not be returning. The Washington Post reported that the two executives were fired, along with two others, including the head of legal policy, trust, and safety. Tomorrow is supposed to be the deadline to finalize Musk's $44 billion acquisition or face renewal of the lawsuit that was meant to force him to make good on his offer to buy Twitter. So the on again, off again Elon Musk era appears to actually be beginning for real this time. And it appears that Musk will get the opportunity to use a sink he was seen carrying into Twitter headquarters yesterday for reasons that remain unclear. And this morning, he tweeted a message to advertisers using way more than 280 characters, I must add, where he promised that, quote, Twitter obviously cannot become a free-for-all hellscape where anything can be said with no consequences. Musk has already fired the head of legal policy, trust, and safety, so we will see about that free-for-all hellscape promise and whether a certain Twitter account that once coined the term kofevi is coming back.
Use of the N-word on Twitter jumped by almost 500% after Elon Musk's takeover as trolls test limits of free speech, report says. And I found it interesting that LeBron James, put up a tweet or responded about this. He made a comment, in disapproval of this, basically. Isn't it interesting how these celebrities pick and choose which fight they want to engage? I just think that's fascinating. After self-proclaimed free speech absolutist, Elon Musk closed the $44 billion deal on Twitter, anonymous accounts set about testing the limits of the social media platform's moderation policies, the Washington Post reported. The Network Contagion Research Institute, man, listen. Let me say that slow. Let me read this whole next sentence slow because this is critical. The Network Contagion Research Institute, a research group that analyzes social media content to predict emerging threats, said that the use of the N-word on Twitter increased by nearly 500% in the 12 hours immediately after Musk's deal was finalized. The newspaper also noted that several online trolling accounts called on others to use racist language in the aftermath of the deal. Elon now controls Twitter, unleashed the racial slurs, K's and N's, said one account, using slurs for Jewish and Black people per the outlet. Now, the Network Contagion Research Institute, which analyzes social media content to predict emerging threats. That is such a metaphor for the medical and scientific warfare that they are currently implementing on billions in the human population that have accepted what this narrative over the last 3 years as truth. So again, this is Elon Musk playing his position, controlled opposition. And it makes my skin crawl every time I hear Kanye West or some of our more, tech savvy, business minded people bigging this dude up like he's the best thing since sliced bread. No, he's a devil amongst devils. He's putting up thousands of satellites to orbit around Earth that are beaming ELF waves at our planet. You think that Neuralink is actually a good thing? You actually think that those satellites are up in the upper atmosphere of our planet for good reasons? Are you willing to look past that because of how much money he has? That's the thing, that's the point that Kanye's missing is that these people are important and favorable to you due to no other reason than financial. This dude's not a good guy. He's not for the people. He's not doing God's will or God's work. He's actively a part of this agenda.
Remember the BLM movement, May of 2020, when every high school girl in America was absolutely required to put a black square on her Instagram page? Remember that? BLM, everyone's for BLM. Mitt Romney marched with BLM. What was that? Well, it was a scam. Actually, it turns out it was a scam. And it really hurt the country. Candace Owens has done an entire documentary on this. It's called The Greatest Lie Ever Sold, George Floyd and the Rise of BLM. For the documentary, she showed up to the gated mansion in Laurel Canyon, Los Angeles, owned by BLM co-founder Patrisse Cullors. Cullors then posted a video on Instagram complaining about Candace Owens' reporting. Watch this.
So we are headed to Laurel Canyon. We've yet to see any Black people in this neighborhood. So there's definitely somebody home. Hello. I was just looking to speak to whoever is at this property. Sir? Hello? I don't know if he's going to get someone. I see a very cute German Shepherd, it looks like.
This morning, I woke up to Candace Owens being outside of my house with a news crew.
I can't see how this purchase helped Black lives anywhere in America. I can't even find a Black life on the property. Okay, the dog's not even Black, so there's that.
And so they're literally trying to destroy us. They're trying to destroy me. They're trying to destroy the movement. And I just need us to be stronger.
When you live in a multi-million-dollar home in Laurel Canyon, it can be hard. Candace Owens is the person who caused the suffering you just saw. She's the producer of the brand new documentary, The Greatest Lie Ever Sold, George Floyd, The Rise of BLM, one of the bravest people we know, and one of the smartest joins us tonight. Candace Owens, thanks so much. First of all, thank you for doing this. It's like that whole moment is forgotten. Why did you think it was important to make a documentary about it?
Because of exactly what you said, because they want you to forget it, right? They do these things, they sort of punch you in the face and then they move on and they say, nobody look any further. We're now moving on to a different narrative. It is important to pause and to reflect and to consider what happened and ask a very big question, which for whatever reason, no journalist was interested in at the time. We were all basically required to either put up a Black square or donate to Black Lives Matter or to make some, statement online about how Black people are suffering to make sure that Black Lives Matter would receive the $80 million that it received in 1 year. But nobody asked the question, where is all the money going? I was interested because they turned me into public enemy number one for accurately talking about George Floyd, not in the capacity of a hero, but in the capacity of a person who was addicted to drugs and who had enough fentanyl in the system to kill a horse at the time that he died. That made people angry because people were invested in the emotion of Black Lives Matter. And so look, I'm wearing the shirt. It is the BLM symbol, but instead I've inserted some cash into it because what they really did is they robbed Americans. They robbed Americans' emotions. They extracted emotions. They used Black pain to create confusion and to take millions upon millions, tens of millions of dollars from people. And where did the money go, Tucker? That's what the documentary explores. The people are going to be shocked. I hope people are very behind the transgendered movement because that's where a lot of this money went. And then there's just a dead trail because the one thing that you're afforded when you decide that you are transgendered is you can change your name. So you don't know who any of these people were originally, but they received hundreds and thousands and millions of dollars of cash.
It's all, I just can't control myself and know, because I was there and I watched it. You were basically banned from all media, including some conservative outlets, for telling the truth, the factual, documented truth about George Floyd. You were not allowed to tell the truth, which really was, I think, exactly right. Let me ask you, do you know anybody, apart from the ladies living in Laurel Canyon and the transgenders you just mentioned, any actual, normal Black person who benefited from BLM?
No, absolutely. It's the exact opposite. I can tell you millions of Black people who suffered because they now live in the inner cities that were looted and that were rioted, and therefore the businesses picked up, which my documentary will show. They picked up and they left because why wouldn't they leave? Obviously, if they're basically saying that crime is allowed to take place, and these are zones in which there can be no policing. So these people are now suffering economically, and we of course predicted that that would be the outcome because of the BLM scam, which benefited nobody. And there are a lot of questions. In my personal opinion, this was a money laundering scheme. And it is interesting that these individuals, like Patrisse Cullors, decided to host a Joe Biden inauguration party at the Black Lives Matter house. Again, all of that is in the documentary. It's stunning. And I do want to add this. My personal charity, after I announced that I was doing this documentary, I run a charity called Blexit. We received a letter 2 weeks after the trailer dropped from the IRS saying that they were going to investigate my charity. I welcome the investigation because I am not a scam artist and I do real work in the inner city communities. This is Biden's IRS once again saying you are not allowed to investigate anything that the media is complicit in.
That's unbelievable. You're a brave person. They're going to come for you at some point, as you know. Candace Owens, appreciate it. Thank you
Absolutely.
so much.
Thank you so much.
But are they really
subscribe to the Fox News?
But are they really going to come for her, Tucker? She's most definitely controlled opposition, and I'm going to go one further. And it would be interesting for somebody to do a backdrop on the funding of her very large and very successful platform. And I believe there are people who have actually done that. But the thing that struck me as I have watched her, because I didn't follow her at first, and I followed her after I saw the clip of her talking about the whole situation with Kim Kardashian and her mother, and that whole unraveling of the story with Ray J and the sex tech, that whole thing. And so I was like, she's even a broke clock is right twice a day, right? No, she does. She's a very intelligent woman, obviously, in her own right. Controversial, yes, but I've been controversial, so that's not a deterrent for me. But as I've watched her and as I've followed her through watching her social media platform, one of the things that really irritated me was how she was having a funeral, telling everybody to get dressed for a funeral for Black Lives Matter. And so she's sharing all of these posts from mostly white people, but Black people too, where they're getting dressed up in all Black or getting ready, having some wine to get ready to watch the Black Lives Matter funeral, right? So it was this real snobby, disrespectful mockery that I really didn't like. And then when I actually went to her page, I said, let me actually take the essence of this woman is and what she stands for. Prior to all of this recent controversy, she lives a very white life. She says she does work in the inner city. If she does, more power to her. She definitely gets credit for that. But in terms of her husband, in terms of what appear to be her friends and her close confidants and the people that she continuously represents herself with, it's very white. I know she's got a backdrop. I know she had some stuff, she stood up against racism in one of her schools. She has a story, like all of us have stories, but it's the antagonism that really kind of makes me feel some type of way. So this was the concept that came to me as I was watching her. The same way I said that they've constructed avatars in terms of the Black female that are operating on a very low frequency sexual based energy, and that have become, the Cardi B's and the Megan Thee Stallions and the Lottos, like there's this frequency that if you ride that wave, if you can tap into that frequency, that Madonna / Lil Kim / Josephine Baker, even though I know that was another time, but it's that frequency though. Like she went to Europe, she was experiencing something different than what you experience in America, even to this day. The stripper culture, all of that. That's an avatar, and it's being repeated in many different ways. You even got babies now. I saw the video of a mother dressing her child, holding with a, like, looking like she just came from getting surgery, a BBL surgery, pushing the you know, the little stand that's supposed to have the antibiotics and the fluids attached, like she's in the hospital with her body wrapped up, but she got a BBL. And it's the things we do for attention. Number one, I'm not having my daughter evoke that frequency, not even for play, especially not a 2 or 3-year-old child. And you know that's not what she probably wanted to be, Dora the Explorer. But the avatars, Candace Owens, right? And I said a broke clock can be right twice a day. And I meant that, but I also give her a little bit more credit because, like I said, she is intelligent. She does make some very important points. Like I said, the whole Kim Kardashian situation. So I'm able to be balanced in my assessment of her. And I also think that Black people as a whole, particularly in America, really need to step back and and put the mirror in front of our faces and ask ourselves, how is it that we got this upset over a t-shirt? Haven't said much this last 3 years. Won't say anything about what they're implementing in these schools in terms of what's going to be necessary for your child to enter the school medically and scientifically. I don't see any outrage for that. Kanye's been talking about Planned Parenthood, consistently dropping little jewels about that and the 20+ million of those lives. I don't really see any real momentum when it comes to that conversation. So I think a really big question for us is, how is it possible that we collectively got this upset over a t-shirt? I'm going to talk about Kanye tomorrow. Don't worry. I'm not excusing the antagonist Gemini and petty antics that have come with him trying to break through these chains that these people clearly have on his mind and his heart. If you getting upset over a t-shirt, God only knows what oh man. Whew. Somebody screenshot this picture and ask Candace Owens, is she willing to wear this t-shirt? Black people are the real. Does she stand by Kanye in that statement? Will she wear that t-shirt? The greatest lie ever told: George Floyd and the rise of Black Lives Matter. So the subconscious play on words is the greatest lie ever told is that Black Lives Matter. We know George Floyd isn't the greatest lie ever told, because come on. There's tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of cases like that in America's history. So we know that's not even close to it. The rise of Black Lives Matter is the greatest lie ever told? I don't know. Did you talk about any other cases besides George Floyd? Did you talk about Trayvon Martin? Did you talk about George Zimmerman? Will you do a documentary about him? Will you do a documentary about George Soros? By the way, I searched his name in Black Lives Matter, and this is everything that came up under the search. This is how you can see who's playing what positions and the value that they have in terms of the pyramid. And so all these great things about George Soros appear in the body bags and the paper trail, nowhere to be found. But we can find the greatest lie ever told, though. Mass psychological experimentation exhibited through celebrity control. That's what this is. And what you really wanted to say that you never said, and Kanye, this is really where you just, I talked in the last video about our lack of respect for the sacredness of death and the transitioning process. And once a person becomes an ancestor, like now you got to carry yourself in the, you know what I mean? The situation a little bit different. There's extra expectations. You should know that, Kanye. I know you, you know what I mean? First off. And secondly, for every George Floyd, where there may be 5 to 10 different circumstantial things that made him look like a bad guy, there's 100 cases where there were completely innocent Black boys, completely innocent Black young men, not doing anything but being themselves. How come you didn't talk about any of those? What you really did is created an alibi and created a conversation and a platform to justify the murder of George Floyd. Why don't you just have the courage, like Kevin Hart says, say it with your chest? You want to antagonize somebody, you want to be disrespectful to somebody, then say it with your chest. You did all that research about fentanyl and about the knee wasn't on the neck, the knee was on the shoulder, and he wasn't a good guy, and he was this and he was that. You said and did all of that without ever saying what you were really wanting to say, which was, yeah, the murder was justified. I'd respect you more if you did that. No, I wouldn't, but maybe a little. So this avatar, Candace Owens, if you have watched, these are the antagonists that are rising up amongst the populations, right? And again, the saint in the center is on full display with Kanye West. I'm going to talk about him tomorrow. But he's also playing a very antagonistic role, because he didn't have to do that to his people. He didn't have to co-sign the whole thing about George Floyd. Just strategically as a businessman, and his honoring his mother's legacy and who she was and what she embodied and what she stood for. Like, come on, bruh. If you are the real chosen of God, O ye Kanye West, Yeezy, yay. If you and we are truly the chosen people of God, then that means that our accountability and our responsibility is higher than everybody else's. Not to make the most money, but to maintain a certain frequency and a certain level of awareness and self-respect and connection to love and connection to the planet. You want some Balenciaga financial and more. I'm so proud of him in one regard, and I'm so dismayed at how he's gone about this, because I think that there was a much easier path in order for him to accomplish what he's seeking. The real path is within. He's seeking all these things externally, but the only real path is within. But I'm going to digress from that because this is not a video about Kanye West, even though I'm getting ready to talk about him on this last slide. But my point in terms of Candace Owens, I don't even like when she says the word Black. It sounds a little too Tennessee-ish. Black. I didn't like the tag me and show me your outfits that you're wearing to the Black Lives Matter funeral. I don't like the snide remarks and the pandering to the far right, while at the same time trying to appeal to Black people by continuously using passive aggressive techniques. I love you, but you got to get this together. I love you, but you need to work on that. It's very disrespectful. This is the Black Lives Matter website today. I did a whole presentation about this in 2018, I want to say. I think it's still up on my website. I mean on my YouTube channel. I didn't even check because I just know it's there. But this is their current news updated statements. This is what Kanye is saying, what she was saying in terms of Black Lives Matter, that none of this is new. For people that actually seek knowledge and seek information, you notice she didn't really get into that. Well, I didn't watch the whole documentary just for, because I'm not, as far as I can tell, it's only available on a particular platform that you have to pay for. And that's what I'm not going to do. I did see a clip about the whole George Floyd situation. So did she talk about George Soros? I don't know. But this is their website with their most recent news headlines. It's all about politics. It's all about surface level things. None of it's about actually being in the community and being in the culture and helping the people that actually need assistance. So this information is not new. This has been read. When I did that presentation and I looked at their website, it was a very heavy LGBTQ emphasis all over the website. That really stood out to me because most of the people who were hashtagging Black Lives Matter, or not most, but a lot of the people that I know, people that were out at these marches, people that were fighting against the injustice that was happening at that time, a lot of those people would have never aligned themselves had they known that. Not that they're anti-LGBTQ, but it's just, okay, now the organization might represent something a little bit broader than what I'm interested in focusing on right now. We do still have the right to make those type of choices. I hope everybody's clear. In the most recent news, in their headline news, up until March 2022, they have stated that they've done nothing substantial for Black people in particular, or Black people in America, I should say. But they have been defending themselves, and they have been pushing voting, and they have been talking about President Biden and all of the surface level politics that really don't have anything to do with anything. This is not new information. People have been revealing this for a long time now. Let me go back to this, because I want to say this before I forget this point. These avatars. In Westworld season 4, there is I forget her actual name. It starts with a T. She was in Creed. Beautiful sister, great actress. She plays one of the main characters in season 4 of Westworld, and she's a murderous, manipulative, evil program that is being embodied through this woman, for lack of a better, to simplify the process, to simplify my explanation. Then there's a show called The Peripheral that I just started watching that is really good, that's on Amazon Prime. There is another Black female that is an antagonist and has a very mean-spirited, evil, vindictive frequency, and she's one of the main characters. Think about Jada Pinkett in the last Matrix. And that's a different variation of the same thing, but I'm making a point. They're putting their avatars out in front of the world and letting you choose which God you want to serve. Energetically, in terms of what you're paying attention to, in terms of what you're focusing on, that's exactly what's going on. This is spiritual warfare. How could Black people let somebody like Candace Owens get them so up in a roar and t-shirts? Are we really that emotionally primitive at this point? Yes, it was disrespectful. Yes, it was childish and petty. I don't even think it's disrespectful. First of all, let me walk that back. The disrespectful part was the George Floyd, and everything else that I talked about. In terms of them wearing the t-shirts, why would I think somebody wearing a t-shirt, it might be poor taste, especially for Kanye. I wouldn't expect anything, But Kanye is being antagonistic because he can't say the one thing that he really wants to say. And I'm going to talk about that tomorrow. He's saying everything except the one thing that he really wants to say, and he can't. And so that's why it's coming out in all of these uncomfortable, stagnated, chaotic, disorganized ways, like, you know, slavery was a choice. Well, we could make an argument in terms of like the 1700s and that time frame. Slavery in 2022 is most definitely a choice. And people are choosing slavery every day. Dare I say most Americans? Dare I say most people in England, in Europe, in Australia, and South America? I don't know. What's the numbers? We looked at Korea. It's not looking too good for them. South Korea. The psychological manipulation that has taken place. They're using our people, they're using our culture to keep the world locked in a certain frequency and vibration of suffering in one breath, and of not complacency, misplaced revolution, because it looks like something is happening, but nothing is really happening. Right? You see the picture of the art of the sister down at the bottom. She's colorful and she looks beautiful, and she's holding up a sign, one sign we can't see. So with her, just the image of her alone, that's a beautiful image. But then she's holding a sign that says, I can't breathe. That's a problem. Because the image doesn't emit power or beauty anymore. It emits suffrage. And so these people are in their minds, I'm assuming, doing the right thing and supporting a righteous cause by wearing masks that say Black Lives Matter and I can't breathe. But it is the ultimate mind, F-U-C-K, to wear a mask that says I can't breathe. And that's the depths of the psychological warfare that is taking place right now. Because for me, that is as clear as, you know, Stevie Wonder could see it. That's a no-brainer for me. For this person, he'd probably be ready to fight me for me even expressing my opinion about feeling like he's doing something for the greater good and for the collective consciousness, and suffocating himself. A Black man wearing a Black Lives Matter mask while he's breathing in his own toxins. I feel like these people are thumbing their noses up at human beings at this point and making mockery of us. Let's see, this video is supposed to play. Come on. Okay, maybe not. That's crazy. Why would these videos not play? Okay, let me go back. Will this video play? That's really odd because these videos just played. All right, well, I don't know exactly what that is about. Let's see if I can get any video to play. All right. Since the video won't play, I'm going to carry that over to tomorrow. These are two separate clips, one clip of Kanye West, and I'm going to leave you guys with this because this is the sort of intro to the conversation tomorrow. I'm at an hour and a half, so I went over my time today, but like I said, I wanted to do that special segment on the Candace Owens Black Lives Matter situation, so I don't renege on talking about that tomorrow, because it is an important aspect of everything that's going on, and a big utility in terms of how they're using these avatars to keep this divergent thing happening, where as long as we can keep people focused in all these different areas and putting all these different fires out, and the minute you put one fire out, here's another one, as long as we can keep them arguing amongst each other and fighting amongst each other, they're not going to be paying attention to what's really happening. They're not going to be paying attention to the laws that we're sliding underneath the mats that are getting closed on Halloween. They're not going to be paying attention to Halloween rituals and mass death and the death culture that's hovering over this planet right now. So, but I digress. These video clips are of Kanye West talking about how jealous he is of the Jewish community. And he's basically saying, I'm jealous of the fact that they're not aborting their children. I'm jealous of the fact that they are, financially cohesive, that they educate their own children, in a backwards way. Sanitizing what he really wanted to say, and also paying homage to them, right? To smooth the conversation over, right? Like, yeah, you guys are doing great. We should look to you. We should learn from you, et cetera, et cetera. But it's the jealous language that I have a problem with. Because the Bible says, love envieth not, and charity envieth not. So what is there to envy? If you've spent, you and many others, because Kanye's not the first person to talk about this, plenty of people have been blackballed and ostracized and minimized, and people like me have been blackballed and ostracized and minimized for the last 3 years and are being heavily censored right now at this moment. But you've spent the last, in this, let's say the Drink Champs interview, you spent 2 hours talking about how horrible these people are, the people in power, not a whole religion, because that's what we're really talking. We do know we're talking about a religion, right? People think we're talking about a race. You just spent all this time talking about how they've been raping Black culture and starving the artists and culture vultures, and they're taking from us, and they're limiting how we can move, and they're, inhibiting me in this way and preventing me in that way and stifling me in this way. And they've been doing this to my people for so long. And why would you envy that? That's not something to be jealous of, with all due respect. That's one of the issues that I had. And again, I love Kanye. He's been really heavy on my heart. But we need to have some real conversations. You jealous and envious because of financial means. But there was an opportunity during the conversation when Moses West was brought up and talked about his wonderful work. Noriega brought up what he was doing in terms of providing water. And instead of you bigging him up and promoting him and bringing his brilliance to the world, you started talking about how you spent 150 million researching water technology. But there's already somebody on the scene, a Black man at that, that's doing it. That was the time to big him up. So the jealousy that you feel towards one particular community is another spirit that's being expressed in what you say and what you don't say towards your own people. And I'm not in support of apology tours. I don't believe in all of that. Like, we say things, and yeah, sometimes when you're in an interview or you're talking live like this, like, you'll say something and then later you'll think about it like, I could have said that different, or I could have said that better. But for the most part, you say what you mean and you mean what you say. I know you do. I do. There's nothing to envy. We shouldn't be envying anybody. We should be embodying Christ consciousness. We should be embodying love, because guess what? In the kingdom of God, everybody, what if everybody's not what if? Everybody's a super being. Now, how many of us can really live in that reality where everybody's a super being and everybody's a genius in their own regard, and everybody has their own unique style and unique swag and unique confidence, and everybody's on top of their game, and everybody's emitting Christ consciousness? There's no room for hate in that type of environment. Are we ready for that? Are we preparing for that? Do we even think it's conceivable? So no, with all due respect, we should not be jealous or envying these people. There's nothing to be jealous or envious of, especially because on a spiritual quantum level, individually and collectively, consciousness creates reality. So we are responsible for what manifests in our lives. We are responsible for the limitations or the lack of limitations and how much we fly or how much we fail. Our state of a consciousness, our state of awareness, is 400 plus years of slavery and degradation. Has that put us in a compromising situation? Absolutely. On a physical level, on a spiritual level, we have all the advantage. That's what I need to hear. There's nothing to be jealous of. Why should the righteous be jealous of the wicked? I rebuke that. With all due respect. And I'm going to end with that. I'm over time, but it's all good because it all needed to be said. And this is going to be a great segue and transition to tomorrow's live on YouTube. My voice is shaky because I've been talking a lot. And I just talked for an hour and 37 minutes. So there's that. And I had, anyway, tomorrow, Sunday, October 30th, 2022, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to be live on YouTube. Is Hip Hop Facing Divine Judgment Part 3? The topic is Kanye West and the Delilah frequency. So y'all come through. I'll see you soon. All right. Peace and love.